Good morning. So we're going to continue with SSB. And this morning we're going to review some of what Lana taught earlier in the week, and I'm also going to teach you a new move. And I really am going to have as a intention that I get you to your SSB classes so you get to practice this morning. So, yes. So I would like a volunteer. Marlene. Let's have a seat here on the table. So good morning.
Good morning.
Mm-hmm. So we are now making initial contact, which Alana has been talking about this week. So hello.
Hello.
Hello. And we've been making contact throughout the week.
Yeah.
We're in a group together, and now this is a different kind of contact. So why don't you just share with me briefly what your intention is or what you would like from this morning and coming up.
Well, that body-mind this morning was really important to my body as I'm aware of a weakness in my trapezius muscles, and it has manifested physically in some arm problems that I've experienced about 3.5 years ago. So this is a key area for my body, and I'd like to continue that on. I feel very close to it right now, having just come from the exercise.
Okay, I'm going to come around this way because I think this is probably the way you'll be lying. So I'm hearing you say that you're aware of some weakness in the trapezius muscles.
Yeah.
And you're aware that how that's been, you're aware of the effect that has in your arms. And that came up for you this morning in the body-mind exercise. That was a good one. Okay. Well, we have many differences of opinion on that one, but it was good for you.
Yes, it was.
Good. Okay. I invite you to lie down. So, initial contact. This contact, when I ask for a volunteer, and Marlene raises her hand over there, and we make eye contact there. So that's initial contact, and of course that's what happens when we're with a client, is that there's the initial contact when we open the door, and there's that initial eye contact. So there's contact, and then there's contact, and then there's contact, and et cetera, which continues. So we had that contact, then Marlene sits on the table, and we start conversing, and we have another contact. And now Marlene is in contact with the table. If I were in my office, I would not be talking to you, but I would be hopefully checking in with myself and having self-contact, which was certainly, as you discovered with the body-mind exercise this morning, was about self-contact. So we have that initial contact, and now I'm giving Marlene the space to make contact with the table and with herself, for her to check in with herself. And I also have the opportunity now to check in with me. And now we move into another contact. And when does that contact begin? Does it begin when I actually physically touch Marlene, or no? Okay, so Stephanie? Okay, so what Stephanie is saying is no, it doesn't begin when there's actual physical skin-to-skin contact. It's begun as soon as the intention is there for me to make contact. Already there's a shift, and as we contact each other's energy fields. So I'm really aware of contact now because now I am aware of how low the table is for me, right? So, but I'm glad it happened because that was not initially in my awareness. But now I'm aware of that and how that's changed the contact. Because my sense of the contact is that I'm at a distance from Marlene, right? So how do I make the adjustment without getting Marlene up and moving the table? I'm not going to do that right now because I want to just experiment with how do I, first thing I'm going to do is stop and take off my, because now I understand why Alana wants all the doors open.
Rob? Rob?
100 degrees in here.
I'm open to coming off the table because I'm also aware of your not being able to contact my neck with a sweater on, and I'm feeling a great deal of heat, so I would like to take my sweater off as well.
Okay.
So if you'd like to raise the table, it's a perfect opportunity.
Pardon me? And Michael, could we open that door out there? Thank you. And that a little crack, thank you. So I'm going to...
It's crooked.
Wait a minute. Is it crooked?
I can live with that. Can you?
No, they all seem to be in the same.
Yeah, am I okay up here? Okay. We have contact.
We have contact. Can I take all of you little spirits home with me from my office? It would make my practice a lot easier if I had these 4 little creatures could come in, crawl in on the floor, and by the time it gets to the 8th client in the day, you know, I'm going to really appreciate all of you, you know. Okay, so wonderful. So now let's observe what happens now in terms of contact. So this is a session about contact, right? So for me, this is very different. What's happening for you, Marlene? What are you aware of?
Our contact.
Our contact. And what's your awareness of our contact?
That we're connected now.
That we're connected now. And you see a difference?
Yeah, I feel a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're really talking about the theme of self-care is interwoven with this contact. First, there was a self-care of the fact that I was feeling very warm, and so was Marlene. And we may have not said anything. I may have not said anything. Marlene might not have said anything if I hadn't. And we also would have been living with that discomfort. And I may very well not have moved the table, and I would have been living with that. And we would have still had contact, but it would have been different. So we have a heightened awareness. So this is about awareness of contact, right? And that came about a lot through practicing self-care, through checking in with myself. What am I aware of about me right now? That I am not, that I have to reach to the table, that I'm overheated, etc. And Marlene, what were you aware of in that, just now, in that movement?
I was very much aware of the gaps between your applying movement to my neck. And it was like you were with me, and then it was me, and then you were doing it, and then I was doing it. And it was trying to get into the rhythm of that, and just that it was okay.
Right.
I didn't have to do it all, and you didn't have to do it all.
Right. So we're both doing a lot of listening, it sounds like. We're both doing a lot of listening to who's doing the movement here. How much is this me, and how much is this Marlene? Right. Okay. Okay, so I'm coming down here to your feet. I'm going to say hello with your feet. So again, this is contact. And again, I'm listening. And through listening, I'm heightening awareness, right? And I'm imagining that's happening for Marlene as well. By being touched, it brings her attention to her feet. And subsequently, if it's bringing attention to her feet, it's bringing attention to her legs. Because, of course, whatever is going on in the feet are not the feet unto themselves, but the feet are being affected by the legs being affected by the pelvis. So why don't we do a check-in here. So we have a left side, and we have a right side. We have left, and we have right. And because we do have an energetic field, I'm imagining that all of you now are developing the observational skills to not only notice how much do you notice the leg physically moving as versus this leg, but you're also not being influenced by what you're seeing in the energetic field, because you also have that awareness, even though it may not always be conscious, but it is going to affect what you see. Does that make sense? Okay. I might have used see, but it might be, for you it might be a sense that you're feeling the energy field. So you don't you? Mark this down. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm sensing that you have an awareness of energy field in your system. How much you're conscious of it is another thing, right? But that you may be saying, oh, I'm noticing how far Marlene's leg is moving based on the physical movement. but there's another part of you that's seeing in another way. Whether that's conscious or not is another issue. It doesn't even need to be conscious. The thing is, it's influencing you. So I think you're seeing a lot more in in more different ways than you may consciously realize. And for some of you, you do consciously realize. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And what I'm saying is, as you continue in the training, I think that's going to become more and more apparent, or you're going to become more and more aware. Does that make sense? So, Marlene, what are you aware of?
Well, I'm seeing energy and
You're seeing energy, yes, and you laughed.
I do see purple.
You do see, right, in this
green.
moment, you mean?
Yes, I do.
You do see purple?
And I was aware when you moved my legs that my right leg was a little more fixed than my left.
Right leg was a little more fixed. Okay.
Not as mobile.
Not as mobile. Okay. So, and I'm aware of you used the word fixed. So we're also looking at the different language that our client uses, right? And whatever that means to Marlene in terms of fixed. Okay. So I'm going to take this hand and I'm going to place it here, if that's okay. And I'm reviewing the contract. If at any time, for whatever reason, you're not comfortable with my touch, I appreciate you telling me.
I will.
Great, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip my hand under your hip here and place this hand on top. And we'll spend a few moments here listening to what's going on in this hip of yours. Now notice that Marlene had mentioned that the left had more movement and she experienced the right as being more, quote, fixed, which was also my experience. It was congruent with me. And I see for some of you, you also noticed that, right? Yes. So I've come here, I've made the choice point, to come to the left side first. And this question did come up again this week in my group. So I just want to again mention that though nothing is set in stone, and we may choose for other reasons to go to one side or the other, more often than not, I am going to first go to the side that I experience as the, quote, easier side, the less fixed side. And the philosophy behind that being, why would I go to where the most holding is, where the, quote, wall is first, and have to try to get through that? Why not go first to the easier side, make it even easier, quote unquote, because this side is watching and listening. So then when I get here, there's already going to be a shift. Right? So what are you aware of right now, Marlene?
I'm feeling very, very much there at the hip, and heaviness and groundedness there with your movement and energy there.
Okay, so very much there at the hip and aware of heaviness and groundedness with me here. Okay. So I'm just going to invite you with me to just imagine that we're going to just take whatever is here, whatever. Marlene's just now taking a nice breath. Okay, so I'm going to just invite you to take the breath once again in whatever way is easeful for you. I'm just going to move right down your leg with that breath. And just take it right out. The bottom of your foot like that. Okay. Now we have this. And we have this. So what are you aware of now?
That movement's gone right up to my head where it wasn't before.
Movement's gone right up to your head where it wasn't before.
And the right's still somewhat more, less mobile.
And the right is still somewhat less mobile.
Yeah, it has increased in its mobility since we started.
Okay, has increased. So, and that was the intention. Might or might not have happened, but my intention was first doing this side. That would happen before I got here. Okay, so let's come onto this side. And we'll hang out here for a few moments and listen. If any of you have any questions as I'm going along, this is like a little bit of a review. I'm not going through explaining exactly what I'm doing here. We've done that before. But that doesn't mean you don't have questions. So if you do have a question about what you see I'm doing, feel free to ask. Okay?
During the session?
Yeah, during the session right now. I probably wouldn't ask that during an RSM, but here during SSB, right now, yes. And if there came a time when I didn't think it was any longer appropriate, I would just tell you that. Okay, Marlene, so what are you aware of on this side right now?
I'm aware that your hands are feeling warmer.
Mm-hmm.
And this side's a little more reluctant to give in to feeling everything there is to feel there.
Okay. This side is somewhat more reluctant to give into feeling all there is to feel. Okay.
It's got a harder outer shell.
It's got a harder outer shell. So we have many choice points here if we were going to develop this into an RSM session of where we would go. As in, how does that resonate in your life, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so, and for now, this being SSB, there you go with another lovely breath. Why don't you do one more of these, and then we'll just take this right down your leg. Okay, let's do another check-in, left and right. Okay, now what do you notice?
That feels great.
That feels great. Okay, so now you noticed me, I made this choice for whatever reason to invite Marlene to move with me down the leg on the breath. Now, I don't know, I don't think I've done that in this class before. I sometimes do it, but I'm remembering what Alana was talking about when we wait for the release to happen and when we move on. And this, I'm imagining what I was doing in this moment was it is also a technique of I want to move on and I have other things I want to teach today. And it's not like nothing happened, there were shifts, but rather than wait along, in this way, to me it seemed more organic in this moment to move down the leg as if I invited Marlene to move with me, rather than just to do it. Right? And I invited her with her breath. It keeps drawing you. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. Okay. So Mar- Yes, I was doing, yes. For me, it would be on the exhale. I don't know that it would be set in stone, but it would seem to me to be on the inhale, she would be moving up. And on the exhale, I'm inviting her to just move down and flow down and out with her. So that's not an official move, Peggy, but it seemed appropriate in the moment as a way of moving on. Yes?
I think it's part of observation, because the first thing you do before you make contact is you make eye contact and you really look at your client and you get an impression.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is your breath moves with your body.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, when you are waiting, it's not only listening with your hands, but you're also, again, looking with your eyes.
Right.
And so I think the use of breath as a cue
Yes.
to where they are in their internal processing is very useful. I also think as the breath lets go, so does the diaphragm, and so does the rest of the body.
Right.
So it's almost like a physiological cue.
Right. Great. Thank you. And that helped remind me, in understanding it wasn't just an arbitrary choice, but actually I was picking up on both sides. I was aware of Marlene's breath before I did that release, and then inviting it again. Yeah, thank you.
May I
Yes.
add something to that too?
Certainly, absolutely.
For me,
Mhm.
it would have been a little more effective had you just asked me to continue on some regular breathing,
Mhm.
so that it's not like I felt like I was taking the breath for you, that I was in a doing mode,
Uh-huh.
but that you would just watch my breath and then see on whichever one you choose to get in on,
Mhm.
take it away,
Mhm.
go with that.
Without even maybe verbally saying
Yeah,
anything.
not
you mean.
announce to me what was about
Right.
to happen. I
Mhm.
prefer not to know.
You prefer not to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Choice point, choice point,
Mhm.
choice point. Great, thank you. Wonderful. So I've got a lot more information now. I'm developing information for what I call my filing cabinet, right, that we would get back to, or I might choose to develop right now. But if I'm not going to develop right now, I now have that in my filing cabinet for a future session. Great. So Marlene, what I'm going to invite you to do with me, if you'd be willing, is to just float this up like this. And come over to this side. And take this leg, bring it up here.
Is that your hand, Rob?
Mm-hmm. I beg your pardon?
I heard a crack in your hand.
Ah,
Oh, the release.
maybe. I wasn't aware of it,
Mm.
but it may have been a crack in my hand, but I think it's okay. Okay. So let's just bring this here, and I'm going to come under the shoulder. And check in with the shoulder. And I observed another breath here. And I guess I'm doing what's called waiting. But I'm not just waiting. I'm also listening, and I'm also hanging out. And I'm also making contact and getting to know Marlene, and I'm also experiencing a lot of heat, tremendous amount of heat in myself, yes. Yes.
Experiencing that in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you? What do you mean that? What do you feel? Do you wonder if it's for her or, well, I mean,
Yeah, I'm imagining that Marlene, this is my imagining, that Marlene is doing a lot of releasing, which I'm picking up in other ways. I'm picking up on the breath. I'm picking up what I'm experiencing in my hands. But I'm also experiencing, I am aware of a lot of heat coming off of Marlene, but I'm also aware of a lot of heat in myself, right? Speaking about flapping elbows, I sort of want to do this, to sort of, because I'm very aware of a lot of heat. And so my imagining that though it could be the room, that's not my internal experience. I'm experiencing the lot is being released from Marlene. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that's about. I don't know what it means. I'm just aware that it exists. Okay. Yes. Mm. I think I didn't ask her because I was picking up on her earlier cue. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. I thought I would just go ahead and do the movement, the release this time, and try to respond to what I had heard her say. Okay. And I might check in with her later. Mm-hmm. That she had said she'd rather not know, which may or may not apply in this moment, but. So how you doing?
Good. This side feels very different.
The side feels very different than the other
Mm-hmm.
shoulder, you mean?
Yes.
Uh-huh. In what way are you aware of it being different?
It feels higher, and I'm aware of less heat now there.
Mhm. Yes. So higher and aware of less heat on this side than you were aware of on the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel
Mhm.
a skew on the table. I know I've moved my head a few times. I kind of
Mhm.
feel like I'm on an angle.
Mm-hmm. 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 Do you want me to respond to that, or just...
Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Whatever. Okay. Mhm. See, so again, I'm picking up on hearing the cues. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
Cold, clammy hands
Cold, clammy hands.
and feet.
I'm sorry.
And feet.
And feet. Cold, clammy hands and feet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so what's it like to have cold, clammy hands and feet?
It's uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So do you have any association with this discomfort and cold, clammy hands and feet?
Well, I'm aware of my extremist pattern, and those are my extremes.
Uh-huh. Okay. So Marlene's extremist... Is everybody writing down these choice points? Mm-hmm. Extremist pattern. And these are your extremes, the hands and feet. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So Marlene, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to teach a new move.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what I'm going to teach is called the head lift. Right. So I'm going to come under Marlene's head like this, in what's basically called the head cradle, which I believe Alana showed you earlier in the week. Okay. So, okay. So I'm also aware, Marlene, that there's some what we call streaming going on right now. Anything? Mm-hmm. So I just invite you to be with that in any way you need to be. And if you would like something from me, if you would just to let me know what that is. Okay. 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 So I'm going to invite you to breathe. And feel your feet on the table. I'm not encouraging you to suppress it or stop it, but also to just help you feel present on the table. So I'm taking the time, given that I have the intention to teach a new move, but I'm also aware of Marlene streaming and letting some energy move in her body, so to really respect that and take my time rather than just move into a move. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to focus on my breathing. So the hands have come under, are in the head cradle. So I'm just supporting the head. My hands are resting on the table, and Marlene's head, her skull, is in the palms of my hands. I would say my fourth fingertips are grazing each other in terms of trying to get a sense of the placement underneath. If anybody needs to get up to look closer, or if you can't see where you are, feel free. You don't have to stay rooted in your chairs.
Now, is there any way you can actually, I hate to say this, but move your hands and show us what it looks like
Yes. Mm-hmm.
at some point?
Yeah, I will. I will. Mm-hmm. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get down a little lower, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate my hands so my fingertips are dropping closer to the table. I'm still in full contact. Fingertips are still touching the back of her head. Palms are still supporting the head, but I'm rotating the hands so the fingertips are coming down more into the table, and the backs of my hands are lifting. So I'm coming up like this. So my hands are starting to lift off the table like this. Can everybody see? Mm-hmm. And I'm holding here for a few moments, and I'm noticing, am I breathing? Do I stop breathing when I do this move? Because if I stop breathing, it's going to affect her. And then I'm gently going to allow my hands to sink back into the table. And I'm hanging out here again in the head cradle. Right? And then from there, I come out towards going up and towards the sides, like this. Yeah, and shake out my hands like this. Okay, so invite you to... Are you okay with your legs up?
Yeah, it's
Yes?
probably all for the best.
Okay, yes. Mm-hmm. Notice that the legs are up and the feet are on the floor. That how this, as you all have known from the work we've done so far, helps to relieve the pressure on the lower back and is very important not only when we do the shoulder release, as you know, to have the knees up, but also to do the head cradle. That if her legs were out straight and I was doing this, what a pull on the lower back that would be. And I'm also aware of this. How you doing?
Great, thanks.
Great. Okay. Yes. The energetic intention of the head cradle is the elongation. Energetic intention, as versus there is the elongation of the spine, because this move is moving not only through the neck, but it's going right down through the coccyx. So it's a lengthening. It's also affecting the heart center, because there's a tug in here in the heart center. Peggy, anything you want to add to that?
Well, I'd like to hear from Dan first.
Yeah, okay.
What were you imagining? You watched Rob. What were you imagining?
What did I imagine was happening?
Yeah, what were you imagining from the intention part?
The lengthening of the back of the neck and the spine. This, that doesn't cause my so I know that's what I'm doing. So the physical, that part was pretty obvious, although I don't know what else was,
Okay, so
but I didn't know what his energetic intention or therapeutic intention. That's why I asked. What's moving that your head?
that I cannot. I cannot believe that one.
Doing this is closing. Pulling the head up and bringing the chin.
In the front.
Right. It's closing. So it closes off the throat, the voice.
Yes. And the heart center. But opening the heart center isn't always about this. What about doing the opposite?
Also, the bones carry a certain vibration of energy that's much more intense than muscle or other tissues in our body. So when you work with the spine, you're working with core energy. All right? So the energetic intention is an invitation for all of this to start to open like this and elongate, so that the spaces between the vertebrae are now opening, and all those meridians are now being fed energy, and also the indication for the energy to come up through the heart chakra, the throat chakra, and out, which is different than when you're at the feet, where the invitation is for the grounded.
So it's the access to the energy and then all the people.
And yes, and to start the opening of the levels of energy.
Great. Thank you, Peggy. Let me do this. Let me just do this again.
Just says, remember that the heart chakra, all of our chakras are in the center, are in the center of our body. They're midline, they're in the middle.
Right.
So you can access the chakra from the front or back.
Right.
So if you think about,
Yeah. Let me just hold for a moment. I would like to demonstrate this once more. I'm coming under. Cradling the head. Now, what I'm doing again is I'm keeping the fronts of the ends of my fingers on the table, and I am rotating so that the hands are coming this way. My elbows are moving in, being aware of my shoulders that they don't go up around my ears, and I'm lifting the head like this. Now, from here, we can go into the movement that Alana taught you the other day, which I call the modified Egyptian move, or she didn't use the term, which is from here, observe, I'm now going to bring the hands down, rotate them again. The hands are now moving along the table, and I'm rotating them, and I'm coming up. Instead of just coming back down with the head flat on the table, I'm moving in the opposite direction so the chin is moving up. So we are now in the movement that you've been practicing earlier in the week. So we're doing the full rotation, right? Now when I'm in this move of what I call the modified Egyptian, I am not pushing her chin up with my fingertips, right? They are just there as guides and in contact with her neck. But it is the rotation of the hand on the table. Up like this into a head lift and reversing, coming up like this. Yes, Betta. Let me just bring her back down into what I'm sensing is home. And it may be a different place than she was in before. But again, I'm spending time here listening as to where is her center right now, you know? And I see Marlene laughing. and then coming out again towards the sides and up. And just before I answer your question, Bet, Marlene laughed, so I just want to check in with you. What's happening right now?
Well, I hope it is a little different than was home before.
Hope. Okay, so hope. Choice point. Thank you. Betta.
It wasn't a question, it was just a memory of
Yes.
when we were doing the exercise with Ilana, how to move the chin up and down.
Yes.
And how it's really a straight line bringing the back of the skull forward. Too hard for the chin to go down.
Yes.
And then go straight back again.
Yes.
So helpful.
Yes. Teresa, did you have something?
Shivering.
The shivering.
It happened before or after your head brush?
It came with.
It came with. Marlene immediately responded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very effective.
Very effective, Marlene says. So Marlene says it came at the same time as the initial head touch, right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which is again talking back to what Peggy was talking about, how we're activating, and your question about energy, that we're activating all the way down the spine, right down to the coccyx and up, and activating, as Dana was pointing out, every chakra. Dana, yes? Mm-hmm.
And can I check with Marlene what did she experience? Because from me here, I'm observing from here.
Yes.
And I'm thinking that she was also that she needs a blanket that no one has asked. And then she said, I'm fine. You know?
Yes.
And I said, oh my God, she's having fun with this.
So you want to check that out with her
So
still?
I want to check with Marlene, yeah.
Okay, Marlene?
What was your experience at that moment?
Well, I more or less live in a place where what's happening is what I accept, and I look for what there is in that for me. So that's why it's great, because I know that I'm processing all of these words and all of these sensations at the same time.
Mhm.
And everything is perfect.
Mhm. And
I don't have to change anything.
I don't have to change anything. And your question is nevertheless very important, because you are sitting over there. You don't have your hands in contact with Marlene, so you don't know the answers to those questions, and they would be appropriate questions to ask a client. When in doubt, maybe they are cold, right? I mean, not only has the room cooled off, but we're also talking about a lot of energy. What we've been talking about is energy moving and shifting, and somebody can get physically cold. That's a possibility. What I'm hearing from Marlene is that's not her experience, that everything's fine, but it's a valid question to ask. Yes?
I've never heard of straining or seen it, and
Okay. I believe it's what happened with Paul on the table.
But he seems to be in a lot of emotion, and she seems not to be, so I'm confused about it.
You're laughing again, Marlene. Would you like to
Because
respond
I
to-
am very much aware that this is an SSB session. I could go there, but I'm choosing not to.
So, to imagine that, not that I'm not trying to give a definition of streaming in this, but that a lot more emotional stuff can be happening than is being verbalized, right?
And I'm getting it at a word level anyway, so it's okay.
And she's getting it at a word level, so it's okay. So, yes? Mhm. Yeah, let's let that go, simply because I don't want to, I think that will just pull Marlene up into her head to try to have to explain that.
Not at
Okay.
all. I could
Yeah. Okay.
respond to that.
Okay, great.
It's just that I hear all of the metaphors in all of the word patterns that I'm using and that I'm hearing around me and how they apply to me.
Mhm.
It's
Okay.
very simple.
So she's integrating, she's digesting, she's sorting out, she's figuring things out on a whole nother level that I, as a synergist, am not even conscious of in terms of what the content is. And Alana talked about that earlier in the week in terms of SSB. This is still an RSM session, even though we are not specifically dealing with content. She's maybe dealing with content, or not. And she can still have an emotional experience even if she didn't know what the content was. She can still have an emotional shift even if she didn't know what the content was. Yes, Ross?
When she was streaming and her knees were up, I was imagining that, shouldn't we just move that energy out?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking later, well, maybe the fact that it's moving, it goes out by itself. I was trying to imagine which end is it going out of?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going out
There are a lot of ends, yes. Yes.
So my question is, when it's that much activity, then we don't need to move it because it's moving. Is that the point?
I would not want to end the session with Marlene streaming so that she would get up off the table and be like this and not be able to walk out on the street and get hit by a cab, say, However, at this point during a session, I also don't want to stop it or fix it, but basically want to keep monitoring it and find out how she's doing. If it really seems to be, if she seems to be getting upset or having difficulty emotionally handling it, then I might help facilitate to move it. But right now I'm taking a more watch and see attitude, and the feedback she's giving me all along at every step of the way is, it's fine, I'm fine,
If this were a virtual session, like an RSM session, would you ask her what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you just let her?
So just notice the language, what's going on. So if you say, what's going on, do you have an agenda to elicit a particular response about something?
What was causing that? What is that?
Right. So rather, what would it be like to say, what's going on about ... to just say, I'm curious, what are you're experiencing now? which gives her the opportunity to talk about the streaming, if that's what's important to her, or she might tell me about the metaphors, and that's what's important. So I would leave it more open-ended to give her the choice to go there or not. If it's important to her, she'll go there. But to be able to stay on track with her rather than lead her in a particular direction. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yes?
Lots of another question, I know that one was answered about where is that energy going when it's coming out of it? Where does it go?
Right. Where does it go? Well, streaming basically is a lot of energy that's built up in the body that's really running, that's really rushing. So it's not necessary, it could be going in many different directions. It's not necessarily directed. It's not necessarily focused at this point. What we hope will happen in the session as she starts now shifting is that the energy started to move out and is and got released. But when she's shaking, it's more that it's in disruption. It's going in many different directions.
And I have just like a pot of water boiling, and it's just kind of bubbling, and just a little bit.
Yes,
And then later on, it'll go wherever it
that's right. That would be our expectation, our hope that it would. But at the moment, we're just going to allow it to do its thing. Right. Mm-hmm.
Like distilled energy.
Like distilled energy, Marlene says. Yes, Anne?
When you were just demonstrating the modified Egyptian period, is it a lift? And then it
I-
seemed to turn into a movement as well.
Mm-hmm. It's not. I'm not lifting her head up off the table. It's more like a swivel. A swivel would be one where I use the word rotation.
It is a movement. That's what she has. Is it a movement? And you're not holding your hands still.
Right.
Your hands to rotate.
My hands are basically, somebody had asked me for this, the hands are basically placed about like this. These fingers were just sort of grazing each other was my experience, but they're sort of separated down here by the palm because I want to cup her whole skull, so therefore they have to be separated a little bit, and they're sort of placed like this. And basically what I'm doing is, in the head lift, is I was going like this, so I'm rotating the hands like this, but still maintaining full contact with from the fingertips to the tops of the hands. And then in the Egyptian, I'm rotating in the opposite direction. So though I'm not poking up into the soft tissue with the fingers, but it's the rotation of the hand and the fingers following that's lifting the head up. Yes.
And your hands just like going around.
Mm-hmm. So coming this way for the head lift, and then rotating this way for the Egyptian.
And their hands are completely connected.
They're probably, I think I just did that now, but I think they're more like about more like this.
Because it looked like it was more like this, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm not under her head now, so it's probably a little off. I don't think my hands can be like this because her head would be too large, so it's more like this. So let me come under once more.
have your fingers some contact between your hands, is that important? That's the only question.
No, what's important is that you really feel that the weight of her skull is in your hands, that you're really supporting her.
You don't have to worry about that.
I beg your pardon?
You have little hands and a big head.
That's right. What you really want to do is that she can feel that the weight of her head is in the palm of your hands. She doesn't have to be involved in the lift and be lifting herself. Right. Yes.
You did both of those move together.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I imagine that the lift this way releases the invasion of energy.
Yes.
Want to give that time, present time, to sort of simulate that?
Yes, that's right.
And
The-
then just do the other one. You wouldn't do one and then the other. Just
Well, yes, actually I would, but I would agree with you about taking the time, that it wouldn't be quickly. But actually there are two different moves. There's the modified Egyptian, and there is the head lift, and they are moves unto themselves. But also, let's just see, Marlene, if I'm lifting your head like this in the head lift, I actually, after this elongation, which as we talked about is doing something with the heart center and the throat chakra by this movement here and bringing it up. But when I lift this way and making it part of the move, then what's happening in the throat center and then what's happening in the heart center? It's going the other way, it's expanding. So actually putting them together.
And that's called a sequence. When you take two distinct moves, like we did yesterday with shoulder release on the back, and then you turn the client on the side, and you work with the shoulder on the side, and you turn them on the back, and you did another release on the back. That's called a sequence. That's a dramatic sequence. So it's taking a series of moves and weaving them together. So what Rob is doing is taking the head lift, the head cradle, the head lift, and then the modified Egyptian.
Right.
And that's the sequence.
Right.
So we could pretty much do them together
Yeah, that's what we're...
almost all the time. You wouldn't
Mm,
separate that.
No, I'm showing you a sequence where you would do them together, where we have the motion of this, if every, you know what it's like if you go like this and what's happening here and here, and then if I'm doing the opposite and I'm putting them together, like opening and closing in the throat and the heart, right? So that's a sequence to be done, that can be done together. But they can also certainly be done separately, and the head lift is a move that we use all of the time. I use a head lift in just about every session I do, not necessarily the modified Egyptian, right? Modified Egyptian is what you do after you've really been working with a client for a while, when you really have a sense of them, because it's a very sensitive move, and it's opening up the heart center. A lot's going to happen emotionally and physically. Yes.
And then you go back and do something else. That's quite a lot.
It is quite a lot. So you certainly wouldn't do this with a first-time client.
Or at the beginning of a session.
Or at the beginning of a session. That's right.
This is, and here's the too, I don't do it.
Right.
As I'm working in the session, and I've worked, and we've done some verbal stuff, and there's been some awareness and opening,
Yes.
and contact.
Mhm.
Then I'll come back and do a head lift.
Right. So hear what Peggy is saying in terms of we've already done some looking at sequencing, moving to the first the head initial touch and moving around the body and working with the shoulders, first working with the hips, opening up the lower extremities, then coming and working with the shoulder, doing the shoulder releases. You're starting to work on opening up the heart center. So you're one step at a time. In a sense, we are working around the center of our body in the sequence. A session starts at the head, it moves down to the feet. Then we come, and what are we doing this for? We're doing this to find out what the holding is in the pelvis. So we get that information, right? When I do this, I'm not trying to get information about the feet. The feet can only move as far as the legs will move, and the legs can only move as far as the pelvis will let them move. So I'm interested in what's happening in the pelvis, right? So then we move and we start opening up the pelvis, and we do this release with the legs down. Then we come up and we work with these extremities. So what we're doing is we're working around the circle and we're working around the center here. So the head lift comes later in the session, after we've been opening up and there's already been a lot of movement in the chest. Then we accentuate the head lift, and what happens when you do this and you bring this down into here. And then if you do the modified Egyptian, it would come then, because of all of this opening and because of accentuating, bringing the head forward. Then what happens towards the end of the session when you say, like, this is the metaphor. If your client is there and ready for that, because it's a very powerful move. Yes, Stacy. And this, and one or two more, and then I really want you to go and practice. Yes.
For take them on in a second, if you're in a muscle practice, not to like overstretch it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And is that what the head lift does? It kind of alleviates the throat response chakra as opposed to expanding it?
Yes, in a sense, you're doing that. You're accentuating that. Is that what you're saying?
Not accentuating, relieving a twat
In the head lift?
in the head lift, when the forehead comes forward and the front of the throat and the heart is protected.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it's kind of like protecting.
Mm-hmm.
It's also opening the vertebrae in the back,
Mhm.
the cervical vertebrae in the back. Remember, there's an integration. One part of the body moves, the rest of the body listens and responds. So in the coming down, there's coming down and a contraction of muscles in this way, but we're also getting the complementary movement of extension here. Would you say? So both is happening.
Right. And not to make it even more confusing, but at the same time we're talking about this coming forward, we also have the heart center on the back. So the heart center goes all the way through, the chakras go all the way through to the back. So on the one hand you say, I'm closing this down, but in another way, you have the heart center on the back also, and you're opening up. Yes, and Anthony, and that'll be the last one, because I want you to...
Thinking that the pulling it forward, because my immediate thought is blocking, but keep in mind that she's putting, there's a lot of gathering
Mm-hmm.
movement to an extent. The gathering is very important to energize an area, so it's not coming in, it's not necessarily closing up.
Right.
It could be a gathering of everything.
Okay. Okay, wonderful.
And the whole body, it's not just the harmony.
That's right. As Katrina says, this is affecting the whole body, not just the heart center. Absolutely. Okay. So Marlene. Hello there.
Oh, hello. Great heart center stuff. Wow.
Great heart center stuff. What are you aware of?
Oh, it's cracking.
It's
opening.
It's cracking.
Yeah, I was
Heart center cracking.
seeing green just before I opened my eyes, and I was really breathing into it. And yeah, that hard shell is cracking.
Mm-hmm. That hard shell is cracking. Right. Okay. Great. Thank you. So
Thank
why
you.
don't you choose a side to roll over onto?
Mm-hmm.
And take a moment to feel whatever you're aware of in your body, sitting up. And what that heart center feels like sitting up. And I'm noticing all of these folks that are living here in your heart center, all these women living here in your heart. Huh?
Oh, there's a big one.
Yes. There's a big one. Okay. Got the choice point list out there?
If the session's over, can I cry now?
Another choice point, right? If the session's over, can I cry now?
Great heart stuff. Wow.
Yeah. So again, to notice that without getting into content, as Marlene shared with us, so much is getting processed inside, and that I'm seeing now the feelings are right there. Yeah. So I want to appreciate that. And no, this isn't an RSM session, and yet it is an RSM session. Yeah. It's an RSM session where we're focusing on SSB teaching, I guess is the way we put it. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
being so willing.
My pleasure.
Okay. I'm going to take this off so you can travel unencumbered forth with that heart of yours. Easy for me to say. Okay. So I made an assumption, didn't I? I made an assumption Marlene could travel forth unencumbered. Well, I know you're traveling forth with your heart.
And a lot lighter.
And a lot lighter. Great. Thank you. So, Yes.